Good evening, everybody. Hi, Jonathan.
Good evening.
We've made it. We did it. Welcome to the 2023 Virtual Candidates Night, hosted by the Stow Independent and Stow TV. I'm Cindy Bremer-Sari. I'm the owner and editor of the Stow Independent. I'll be hosting tonight, and Stow TV's director, Jonathan Daisy, is here. He's going to keep us out of trouble backstage with his technological expertise, and hopefully that's going to keep us going. Jonathan?
Hi, thank you for attending, and thank you to all the candidates for stepping up to serve and to agree to be on this forum. It's been a while since we've used this. If there are any issues, please email me. The email's below, stowtv@stow-ma.gov. But hopefully everything will work fine, but I will be keeping my email open in case anything happens. So we have a lot of people waiting to talk about the positions that they want. So I think we should start.
Okay, so what we're going to do tonight, it's a pretty simple format. We will be looking at the uncontested races first, and we'll have each candidate that is here tonight make a statement of introduction. They'll have 1 minute to do that. And once they are all through speaking, then we will take questions for those candidates live. And you can take those questions either through the Stow TV link on YouTube or Facebook, and we have access to both. Hopefully we'll be able to see your questions and get them answered for you. And once the uncontested candidates are done, they'll leave the stage, so to speak, and then we will turn to the contested candidate races. The first one being Board of Assessors and the second being the Select Board. So after that is all through, in the same format where they'll have questions, they'll introduce themselves, have questions, and then live questions will be taken as well. And once that's all done, we will turn to Town Clerk Linda Hathaway, who will talk about some voting issues and writing candidates and things like that. So the candidates that are here tonight. Oh, the one thing, if people are using the chat, that's the way to ask questions. And if you could just use the chat for questions only so that any other conversations don't get mixed in so that we can see the questions, that would be great. So the uncontested candidates that will appear tonight are Megan Birch-McMichael. She is running for Select Board. She is running uncontested for a 3-year term for which she is the incumbent. John Colonna-Romano is the incumbent for the Planning Board 5-year term. Merrily Evdokimoff, and I hope I said that right, Merrily, Board of Health. She is also an incumbent running for her 3-year term. And Barbie Wolfenden just announced a writing candidacy for the Randall Library Board of Trustees. So she is also here with us tonight. The people that are not here but are on the ballot are Scott Powell, who's the incumbent running for the Neshoba School Committee 3-year term. Marcy Eckel running for the Library Trustees, unexpired 3-year term. Sonny Richardson is also running for a different term for Library Trustees. And we also have another write-in, Dana Ellis, who just announced that she would run a writing candidacy for Neshoba School Committee rep. So we will have 2 people running for 2 positions in the school committee race. Unfortunately, those 4 people were not able to be here today for different reasons. They mostly have professional and meeting type obligations. So we're sorry they weren't able to come, but they will be on the ballot. All right. And if we're ready to go, the first one up will be Megan Birch-McMichael, and she will give us her 1-minute introduction. Megan?
I just want to mention first, please give your questions while the candidate is speaking, and we won't be able to go back when we move on to the next candidate. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Megam Birch-McMichael, and I'm running for re-election to the select board, along with my husband, Ian, and our two kids who are currently students at Hale Middle School. We've lived here for 10 years. Initially elected at the height of COVID-19 in 2020, and under the helm of our brand new town administrator, I was able to learn on the job and also look at how the role of the select board member fits into the community. Throughout my 3-year tenure, we've done the business of the town as we're meant to, but we also have thoughtfully questioned how we could use our power as a policymaking board to make Stow a community that truly includes all. Even though I'm running uncontested, I'm personally asking for your vote so that I might continue the work of the past 3 years. Thank you.
Questions for Megan? I am not seeing anything. Jonathan, do you see anything?
Nope, nothing.
Okay, and we can always come back at the end. Okay, the next up is John Colonna-Romano for Planning Board. John?
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm John Colonna-Romano, and I'm running for re-election to the Planning Board. I've been on the Planning Board for 5 years, and I'm also currently the Planning Board representative to the Community Preservation Committee and the Green Advisory Committee to continue those roles if I'm re-elected. I've been in Stow for about 45 years now, and I worked for a long time for Digital and a bunch of other companies. And last year I retired, so I have plenty of time to continue to work on the planning board. So when I was getting my nomination papers signed by people, people asked me, one main question people asked me is positions on things. And I just wanted to say that I had two answers to that. One was I try to have no position so that I'd be objective. I listen to all the sides. I don't prejudge what the issues might be. And I get as much comments as I can so I can try to make a good decision. And my second answer to that is I try to balance all the dimensions of the issue. And that includes the neighbors and the residents, the businesses, open space, affordable housing, the town, state, and federal laws, town public safety like police and fire, the environment, as well as the short and long-term goals of the town. And that's a formidable task to try to balance all those things. And lastly, I'd just like to say, please come to town meeting and participate in town government and vote in the town election. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Does anybody have questions for John? Anyone in the live audience? I'm not seeing anything.
Nothing here.
Okay. All right. So next up, we will go to Merrily.
Hello, I'm Merrily Evdokimoff, and I am running for a third term, actually a fourth term on the Board of Health. I've lived in Stow for over 20 years. I feel that my past experience as a public health nurse and currently teaching public health nursing at UMass Boston makes me uniquely qualified to serve in this role. There have been several challenges and accomplishments, I feel, during the time that I've been on the Board of Health. As we struggle to hire qualified staff for part-time positions, we began to regionalize our services in the last 5 years. We hired Neshoba Associated Boards of Health to provide inspection services and public health nursing. We joined the Devon's Household Hazardous Waste Cooperative in order to provide a place for people to clear out their hazardous waste. And also we have combined our animal control with Littleton to provide, again, these things all because of regionalization, we're able to have really qualified people available 24 hours a day and actually at a lower cost than if we hired them individually. Currently, there's several public health challenges with the Board of Health. certainly with the waning of COVID, we're now focusing on several other things, such as the situation with PFAS in the water in town and working very closely with the state, and also looking at a townwide response to when we see or hear about from the state about drought conditions and what we might do. So I look forward to serving you for another 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Merrily. All right. And let's see, last but not least, we have Barbie Wolfenden, who, as I said, just decided to run a write-in candidacy, and we'll talk more about what that means at the end of our program. But in the meantime, let's hear from Barbie. Hi, Barbie.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm running again for a 4th term, a 3-year term for a library trustee. Libraries are the single most democratic institution in any town or city, where every single person, whether you're a baby or you're 90 years old, whether you are Caucasian or of any other Asian, of any other ethnic background, whether you're a teenager, it doesn't matter, female, male, whatever you are served by your library. Libraries are just a wealth of not only books and information, but they provide programs for all ages, from baby yoga to a knitting club, and issues for discussion of international importance, great decision club. And anyway, I want to stay with a wonderful board that is extremely dynamic, very, very active and decent. And they're lovely people to work with, and I want to stay with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbie. Sorry, I guess we should have done a better audio test in the beginning. Cindy, what are we doing now?
Okay, and does anybody have any questions for Barbie? Oh, I do see. I have a question from the audience, and the person asking would like to know where you stand, Barbie, on the Stow Acres proposal to bury a waste holding tank that comes with the new maintenance building, which is very close to private home wells.
I know really very little to nothing about that issue, but if it is recommended by the select board and the planning board and the finance people, I certainly would bow to their expertise.
I think he's asking the Board of Health nominee that question. And
oh my gosh, Barbie, I'm so sorry.
yes.
Yes,
so-
Board of Health. So we have to bring Merrily back up. Barbie, my apologies.
That's okay.
I think Merrily has left.
And we've lost
Okay,
Merrily.
nope, she's here. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barbara. Merrily, I'm not sure where my head is.
That's okay. I just got that poor woman.
Yes, and she's looking at me like I have 6 heads. Well, people do that, so it's okay. All right, now this question for you. Where does the Board of Health nominee, being you, stand on Stow Acres' proposal to bury a waste holding tank that comes with the new maintenance building, which is very close to private wells? Merrily.
Okay, that's a great question, and I don't have a definitive answer because it was just came to our attention at the last. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Keep going. That's fine.
Okay, so we are continuing to gather information. The people, okay, we've continued to gather information. The people that live near the area are, had come and presented some concerns. So stay tuned. I guess is the best answer.
All right. Thank you, Merrily. All right. And if there are no other questions, We will let our uncontested candidates go, wish them all the best of luck, and thank them all for stepping up for town service. And we will move on to the contested races. So the first contested race we're going to look at is the 3-year Board of Assessors seat. Len Golder is the incumbent for that position. Cindy Cummings is the challenger. She is unable to attend tonight, unfortunately. So what we'll do is we will hear an introduction from Lenny, and then we'll open up to the audience for I have a few questions, and then we'll open it up for questions from the live audience for Len regarding the assessor's seat. So Len, you're on.
I'm Len Golder, and I'm running for re-election to the Stow Board of Assessors. I was elected 2 years ago to serve the remainder of a 3-year term, and with all the changes and personnel and board members, I actually became chair in the last year. I've lived in Stow since 1990, and I've served on several other boards. I'm an attorney, and I was at one time real estate broker. And, municipal finance can be very complicated, even more complicated than what's going on in Washington now with the debt ceiling. Hopefully not as contentious, but maybe more complicated. And the assessing process along with that can be complicated as well. And so one of the things I've made part of my responsibility that I've just taken on is to try to explain that process. And in addition to that, I've, tried to first of all, let me explain that the role of the Board of Assessors is to hear abatements and exemptions. And in that capacity, I've tried to make decisions based on impartiality and fairness. And overall, the important thing that I see in terms of coming back to the board is to maintain continuity and stability on the board. And I'd appreciate your vote in the election.
Great. Thank you, Len. I think you took one of my questions. You already answered it, but I'll ask it anyway. All right. The first question we had, there is a proposed change in the charter that would change the membership to this being an appointed board rather than an elected board. And one of the reasons is due to the requirement for certifications to perform the related tasks. Can you explain the significance of having a certified board and what your current status is regarding certification?
My personal status?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, first, my personal status. The Department of Revenue requires board members to take a series of modules or tests. There are 10 of them. I've taken all 10, and so I'm fully certified. The first year I was required to take 2 in order to be able to continue to function, and I did that. And then I had to take the remaining 8 afterward, which I've done. So I am fully certified. As far as the issue about appointed versus elected boards, that's the other part of the question?
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah. Ideally, I'd like to see it stay an elected board and be for people to be answerable to the public. The problem is we have trouble getting people to run. I ran in an uncontested race. And the thing of it is, the people who could serve, and have some expertise in this area, oftentimes they don't want to run for elective office. So my thought was to get the best of both worlds, like have 2 members that were elected, 2 members that are appointed, make the chief assessor who's hired become the chair. But I talked to people in town government, and it didn't seem to generate much support. It's one of the things somebody said was no other municipality in Massachusetts does it that way. Well, okay, I don't know that that's a bad reason to, I don't know that that's a reason not to do something, but that's the reality. So if I had to choose between the appointed board and the elected board, given those issues, I'd opt for the appointed board so that we could get people involved and people that have some knowledge of the process.
All right. Thanks, Lenny. And the second question you sort of touched on already, but I'll ask anyway. A lot of people were surprised this year by their valuations. Many did file for abatements. And can you explain briefly the role of the board and staff in considering those abatement requests?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the initial assessments are done by the people who are hired in town. The board, which I serve on, does hear the abatements and exemptions. And there's a whole process that we use, and it involves, how much square footage a property has, what the style of house the property is. But the main determinant, the simplest thing is we look at comparable sales of similar houses. And what I would want to explain to people is if you're concerned about taxes, the biggest determinant of taxes is what the town spends. What the assessment does is it determines, what portion of what the town is spending, what that portion is that you're going to pay. But if you're concerned about your overall tax bill, I would look, more toward what the town is spending. But as I say, in terms of the assessment, that's based mainly on comparable sales.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Lenny.
Sure.
And are there any questions from the live audience for Lenny, who's running for Board of Assessors?
I do not see any.
Okay. And I don't see any here, so I think we're all set. Thank you very much, Len.
Thank you.
All right. And for the second to the last piece, we are going to turn to our two candidates for Select Board. The two gentlemen are running for what is the remaining 1 year of Ellen Sturgis's term. This is a contested race for this one position. As we explained before, Megan Birch-McMichael is in her own, she is running as an incumbent to her own seat. It's a separate race. That's a separate vote. So this one position with a 1 year term left on it is the one that is contested. And this is John O'Toole, or JT as he's mostly known as, and Matt Sonnichsen. And they are going to be coming up for introductions and questions. So we will go in alphabetical order. And first up is Matt Sonnichsen.
Hello, my name is Matt Sonnichsen. I'm a lifelong resident of Stow, and I attempt semi-successfully to be a hobby farmer. As such, I use water all the time in everything I do. Over the last few years, I have become increasingly concerned around the issues related to PFAS and what has been done and what will be done in the future to remediate this. As a farmer, I cannot imagine us spending more money to implement a system that we would have to filter before putting on our farm fields. As I said in my letter to the editor, please don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. All right. And next up, we have Jonathan JT Toole.
First, I'd like to say thank you to Jonathan and to Cindy for setting this up this evening. I'd also like to thank each and every candidate who has stepped up, whether it's a contested or uncontested race. And I'd also really like to extend a very sincere thank you and appreciation to all of the individuals who are serving on the separate boards presently here in Stow. The great work that they do is something that can be daunting at times, and a lot of unsung heroes who really do deserve recognition for their hard work. I'm running for the select board position at this time because I feel, with my experience from the other boards that I have sat on in town, from my professional experiences in executive roles in both the for-profit and not-for-profit world, I feel I have some real value that I can add. But more importantly, as I have talked to folks, my neighbors and fellow Stowites, the things that I'm hearing are genuine concerns in some very challenging times that we're going to be facing. And I feel we do need to take those issues and look at them very seriously in a very thoughtful, open, respectful, collaborative manner to come up with a consensus that all of us can feel that Stow and the vision for Stow is moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, JT. Okay, we're going to turn to the portion where we have some prepared questions for both candidates. We'll start again, alphabetical order with Matt, and then John will have the same opportunity to answer the question after Matt is through, and then we'll just keep switching off. So for the first one, can we bring up both John and Matt on screen? Matt, this one's going to go to you first. What experience do you have in Stow Town government, and why did you choose to run for this particular position?
My only experience in Stow Town government is interacting with it previously, generally positive. I chose to run for this position because it was available and because I've been growing increasingly concerned about water issues related to PFAS.
All right. Thank you, Matt. John, same question?
Sure. My experience, whether it's been on the Community Preservation Committee, the Lake Boone Commission, a number of other different boards and working groups in town over my 24-year tenure here in Stow, has afforded me a luxury and opportunity to really develop some useful skill sets that I feel I can bring forward. I chose to run for the one-year term because it gives a unique opportunity for myself with the Board of Selectmen, but more importantly, for the constituents here in Stow to get an opportunity to get to know me without having to marry me for 3 years.
All right. Fair enough. All right. We're going to stay with JT. The next question. With a 5-member board, there are bound to be differences of opinions, disagreements, etc. We've seen this, over the years at different times. To address those potential conflicts, a code of conduct was recently put into play. How would you respond personally to disagreements amongst your fellow board members?
In my past experiences, especially in the private sector, I've had to deal with differences of opinions. One example was when I developed the Good News Garage program, and I had to sit down and get the Registry of Motor Vehicles and the Department of Revenue to grant a not-for-profit, a for-profit car dealer's license to be able to accept car donations to then be able to get it out to the individuals who'd gone through a training program and had no public transportation to get to jobs. In that process, I can guarantee you, we had many, many different opinions. But I actually look forward to that, because if it's done in an open, respectful, and collaborative manner, a true consensus really can be reached.
Thank you, John. All right, Matt, same question. If there are disagreements amongst board members, what role do you play in that? How would you handle that?
I would listen to all sides. I don't necessarily see disagreement as a problem as long as it's amicable and respectful, because that's usually the fastest way to arrive at a consensus.
All right. Thank you. Okay. And Matt, the next one we'll field to you. How would you design a town master plan that generates more revenue for the town to alleviate the burden of taxes on basically the residential property owners and the business property owners? So as some kind of plan that would help increase revenue.
Well, one idea would be to revisit the option of cannabis retailers. It has significantly increased revenue to other towns in our area.
All right. Thank you. JT, same question. How to increase revenue in town?
Well, I think increasing the revenue has to be multifaceted. First of all, I think we need to dismiss the idea that Stow is anti-business. In fact, I don't feel that that's the case at all. So I think we need to make sure that the message gets out there that, in fact, we are there to bring in different businesses. Example, the planning board's proposal for Lower Village and the vision that they have, I think really makes some sense to change the appearance as folks come in to town from that area on 117. And, that's the first hello from Stow, so to speak. So to really get that going and work with Linear to get them to advertise and promote, to get the businesses in here. There's other areas in town that are zoned for business, and I think we need to look at that and to see how we can develop those areas to broaden our tax base, to pull it off of the backs of the homeowners here in town.
All right. Thank you. All right, JT, you're up first on this next one. Do you support the funding of a new Neshoba High School?
It's a tough question. It's still in its preliminary basis. I haven't really seen any hard numbers. As I said in the Independent, there are things that I really will look at in the evaluative process. One of the things that I really am concerned about is I want to see what the direct dollar to student benefit is. I'd also like to take a look and see at what the full budget is going to run through. I also want to see in the construction process some green entities brought in, so it brings down the annual cost for the building. Example, solar, heat pumps, etc., things of that nature, to help reduce that cost as well.
All right. Thank you, JT. And Matt, same question. Do you support the funding of a new Neshoba High School? Oh, Matt, we can't hear you for some reason. How about if we give Matt an opportunity to shut down and reboot?
That might work.
Okay, and we'll come back to him for the question about the high school. In the meantime, we'll move on to the next question. JT, obviously, since Matt's not here just right this minute, it'll go to you. There's been a lot of talk about the citizens petition for the drive-through in Lower Village, a drive-through basically supporting the idea of drive-throughs in the Lower Village itself. In the business districts, and the Lower Village bylaws that are being presented do not support that. Would you support drive-through food establishments in other business areas of the town other than the Lower Village?
I would say that I would have to look at each circumstance to see how it actually affected the traffic flow, also how it affected the abutting neighbors, especially if we're getting into some abutters in a residential aspect, to make sure that we're not putting an undue burden on those individuals for establishing a business. With that said, if it is appropriate, I definitely feel that if we can bring businesses in to town, we should really take a hard look at it and move forward with it.
Okay. All right. Oh, there's Matt. Matt, are you back?
I don't know. Am I?
You're back. Yay.
Okay.
All right,
All right.
Matt. Where we
So
left
we're on the show, I think.
Yes. How do you support the funding of a new Neshoba High School?
Not currently, because the one number I heard was over $200 million, and with interest rates going up, our borrowing costs will only increase as the interest rates go up.
Okay. Thank you. And the next question, John has already answered, but I will ask you. With the Lower Village bylaws going through and a competing citizens petition for a drive-through in the Lower Village Business District, and it's actually looking to place them in other business, any business district, excuse me. If it were not allowed in the Lower Village, would you still support drive-through establishments in other business districts within town?
Yes, I have spoken with several people in town with limited mobility, and they have told me they would very much like some drive-throughs to make their lives easier. I know we're talking about pedestrian access in the Lower Village, but we have a lot of people who are elderly and with limited mobility, so we need to make sure that they have as easy access as people with good mobility.
All right. Thank you, Matt. All right. And we're going to go back to JT for this next question. The issue of water. This has been an ongoing issue for years. I think we ask this every year, but why stop now? How would you approach the lack of water in Lower Village and the associated commercial businesses? If you favor the town supplying water to businesses, do you know what that would cost? And if you don't favor town water, what would be the best solution?
I don't feel the town of Stow should become a water company. I also really feel that in Lower Village, especially in the setting where the businesses are right now, I really don't want to set a precedent where the town comes in and takes over the responsibility where the property owner really should have been taking care of this and has not over the years. So I think that's a dangerous precedent to set, and it's not something that I would support.
All right. Thank you, JT. Matt, same question.
This is pretty much the entire reason I'm running. Because the state has changed its rules related to PFAS levels in municipal systems, any type of municipal system will only grow more expensive. In addition, they are also considering changes to the nitrate derogation rules related to separation between wells and septic systems and the size of septic systems to the amount of land necessary. Because of this, I cannot support the Lower Village Business District that can have up to 6 residences per acre, because even if we could find the water, there's no way we can deal with the sewage.
All right. Thank you, Matt. All right, and the last prepared question we have, and it does appear we have at least one question coming in from the audience, so we'll do that after this. Matt, we'll start with you. What is the biggest tangible issue? And I think I know how you're going to answer, but we'll ask anyway. Facing Stow, the biggest tangible issue, and what is your position on it?
Water, and we need to get back to where it was when I was growing up, where you turned on the tap, you put your drinking glass under it, and you felt confident that what you were drinking was safe.
All right, thank you. JT?
I think the biggest issue we're facing right now is a combination of the water issue, the high school, the library, and the tax burden that's going to be put upon every homeowner in Stow. I think we need to really be very careful in the process. As far as the water issues are concerned, I think we really need to reach out and see where outside funding sources can come from. I think we also need to do that as far as the Neshoba High School proposal that's being put forth. And from my understanding, for lack of a better term, the $2 million oops on the library really was kind of surprising. And I think we need to deal with that. So I think we have to really look at the major issues we're being faced with and how can we get help, whether it's from the state, whether it's from private grantors, or whether it's from the federal government, so that as these problems and issues are resolved, they're not resolved simply by throwing it back to the taxpayers here in town.
All right. Thank you, JT. Okay, and we have one question up here from Matt G. for the select board candidates. So JT, you'll go first. What are your thoughts on the 23% plus town administration budget increase, including a 13% town administrator's salary increase in the upcoming warrant?
Well, for the longest period of time before the present town administrator was here, we were dealing with some serious administrative deficiencies. And because of those deficiencies, it caused some serious litigation. If you balance the cost of litigation versus the increase in the administrative budget, it's a no-brainer. As far as the increases for the salary for the town administrator, as it was explained, she was really being underpaid when you did the comparatives to surrounding towns that had the same level of population and homes. The increase that she's being given, it does not put her at the top. It actually puts her right in the middle. So I think it's money that is well spent. I think the improvements that have taken place in town with it because of a direct result from our present town administrator has helped immensely and has also saved us a good deal of money.
Thank you, JT. All right, Matt, same question. The 23% increase in the town administration budget and the 13% town administrator salary increase.
I don't know when the last time it was raised, so I don't know if this is just keeping up with inflation, since inflation has been high the last few years, or not. So since the cost of living is going up, I'll say I support it.
Okay, thank you. All right, are there any other questions from the audience? Jonathan, did you see anything on Facebook?
Nope, I think that's it.
Okay, and you know what happens as soon as we say there's no questions, one will pop up. All right. All right, gentlemen, I think we are done with you. Thank you both very much for your time. Thank you to all of the candidates for their times. And the next up is Linda Hathaway. And Linda's going to talk about voting.
Hi. Yes. Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Make sure I'm working. All right. I did want to thank Barbie Wolfenden for stepping up to run for the write-in for the library trustee. She's the incumbent, and at first she had chosen not to take out nomination papers, but she's decided to do that. And then Dana Ellis is going to run a write-in campaign for the Neshoba School District. And when you write in their names, you can write Barbie Wolfenden, make it as clear as possible, and then fill in the oval next to it. That will make sure that it gets into the tabulator section that we know we're doing the write-in vote counts. And basically, if you just put their names in or get that as close as possible to the spelling, sometimes it's kind of hard to fit all of that in there, but we will know the intent of the voter and we will be able to count the ballots. I do want to remind everybody that we do have in-person early voting, and it starts on Monday from 9 to 3, Tuesday 9 to 8, and Wednesday 9 to 3, and it's downstairs in the lower level where we've held it for the last few years. You don't have to fill out an application. You can just come in and vote the ballot, put it in an envelope, and then on the day of the election, we will cast the ballots for you. The polls will open at 10 a.m. and be open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday, the 20th. And if you're not able to get there to vote in person on election day, and you are unable to do the in-person early voting, you can also do absentee ballot voting. And that we can take applications up until noon the day before the election, which is Friday, and you can vote right here in the office by absentee. But for absentee ballots, you have to have a reason to vote an absentee ballot, either absent from from the town during the time the polls are open, have a disability that prevents you from getting to the polls, or for religious beliefs. So information is on our town website at under the town meeting and election, and also under the town clerk's information. So, but please reach out and come and vote. Be interesting. We do have 2 contested races, so we hope we'll have a higher turnout than our neighbors in Bolton, who only had a 6% turnout at their election, and Lancaster had a 22% turnout. We have 5,400 registered voters, and we plan for everybody. So hopefully a lot of people will come out and see us on election day. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions from the audience for Linda?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
Okay.
Look to see everybody at town meeting and the election.
Yes, and thank you to all the candidates, and thank you to the audience and everyone who provided questions to the candidates. We really appreciate that. And we will hopefully see everybody at the polls. Well, I won't personally because I don't live in Stow, but Linda will see all of you, and she'll know who's there and who isn't. Jonathan, anything else to add before we sign off?
No, thank you for everybody who participated and everybody who watched. This will be on YouTube, and it'll be on our regular cable channels. I might edit out some of the glitches. Considering how much we rehearsed, I guess that's not too surprising. But anyway, I think we got a lot of good information out tonight, and that's great. Thank you, Cindy, for organizing this, and I'll see everybody at town meeting.
All right, terrific. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. Good night.
Oops.